You know, it's not just Taylor Swift who'll be in Queensland next week. Jen and I and the girls, we were out there catching a concert in Sydney on Friday night, shaking it off.
There was the Abbott bus, the Bill bus, and now...
All aboard!
The ScoMo Express.
There's a new entry in the political dictionary. ScoMotion.
He's targeting a number of key marginal seats between the Gold Coast and North Queensland.
We're listening, we're hearing, and we're doing here in Queensland. I'm listening, most importantly I'm hearing, and that means we're doing. I'm always listening, I'm always looking to hear.
It looks and sounds like an election campaign.
Please welcome ScoMo.
How are we going? Hi, Scott Morrison. Hello. How are you today?
How are you?
So what's keeping you busy? How you going? Having a good day?
What's your name?
Sorry?
What's your name?
Get on there, have a great day.
Prime Minister is spending more time in a private jet than he is on his campaign bus.
Will you be taking the bus to Rockhampton from here?
Yes, the bus will be going to Rockhampton from here.
Why are you flying?
Well, the bus is going all the way up to Rocky, and that's where it was always planning to go. All good.
Preferring to fly on his VIP jet.
I've just flown in about an hour ago.
4 days in a big blue bus won't make up for 5 years of Liberal cuts.
I mean, these visits aren't about sitting on a bus.
Won't be long before Dutton makes a move on ya.
This guy can shoot as many embarrassing parody videos on the beach at Broadbeach as he likes. They can spot a try-hard.
I'll be wearing it proudly as I move around the country along with many others that are similar. It's a great initiative, good to have it on board, and keep eating those strawberries.
Even if they say you're wrong, well, it's alright. Sometimes you gotta
He has brought sweeteners, announcing $800 million for a ring road.
$112 million for stage 3 of the Gold Coast Light Rail.
Promising farmers more seasonal workers.
As I've been moving through Queensland, the number of people have come up to me and said, I'm back, we're here. I've moved away from the party, but I'm coming back because you're talking about what we believe. Well, thanks, Anna. That is what we do, isn't it? You've got a lot of work to do between now and Christmas, so do I. And we've got to get back on the bus. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Back on the bus.
OK, so what happened is that he flew between Gladstone and Rocky and Townsville, and then the bus would turn up, and rather than travel around town in a Comcar, he travelled around in a bus. Is that then a legitimate bus tour, Laura?
It becomes more difficult, doesn't it, when you're saying you're on a bus tour and then you get on the VIP jet. It probably, you know, in reality, it's what you say. Is it better to do that than a Comcar? But what's he trying to do? I mean, he's trying to be not Malcolm Turnbull, Mr. Harbourside Mansion, I suppose, but I think it's more. There are bits of this that are sort of Trump light. You know, it's Trump without doubling down and being an appalling, offensive human being. It's, you know, it's I'm outside the bubble, you know, brackets drain the swamp. But he's the Prime Minister, so he's right in the middle of the bubble. So
yeah, just before then, we do talk about what it was he was trying to achieve with the trip. We'll have a look at how he explained himself when he was taken on about... I have to say on social media this was described as a bit of a Clark and Dawe situation, but judge for yourself.
Prime Minister, you're on the bus tour.
Yeah.
Why are you flying?
Well, the bus is going all the way up to Rocky, and then it's and that's where it was always planning to go. I mean, it's a big state.
Then why have the bus?
Because it gets me from A to B.
Will you be taking the bus to Rockhampton from here?
Yes, the bus will be going to Rockhampton from here. That's right. I've got to get there earlier than the bus tonight.
So you'll be flying to Rockhampton?
I'll get into Rockhampton tonight, and I've got a program tonight in Rockhampton. The bus can't get me there quick enough.
Okay,
so I've got to fly.
To Rockhampton, the bus will catch up with you, and then you'll fly on to Townsville?
I'll be flying on to Townsville, and your point is what?
I'm just interested in the point of the bus if you're not on it.
I am on it. I just got off it.
OK, we've
So
dealt
good.
with the real issue at the heart of the trip. So we move on now to why it happened at all and how did it go?
This is a man in a hurry. That's what this is about.
Too much of a hurry for a bus.
Big hurry. Look, 8 coalition-held marginal seats. This is a place that matters. This is where the Liberals think the election will be won or lost. More likely lost if you look at current polling. But the Prime Minister is in a rush to introduce himself to people. He's He's on a campaign to let people know who he is. I mean, he's
just an ordinary bloke.
This is an ordinary guy letting you know who he is. I think he is in a rush, although many of his colleagues were concerned that this was too much, that he looked like an opposition leader, he looked desperate, that it's looking too frenetic, too kind of me, notice me, and that he's not using the benefit of incumbency. A couple of MPs have told me, you know, he would be useful. Sure, he needs to do some work in the community and get around to the marginals. Everyone accepts that. But let's use the benefit of incumbency to look like you're a Prime Minister. Let's calm the tone. Let's look like you're the boring guy who's capable of actually running the joint.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. There's sort of two strategies running at once and they don't go together. There's kind of oil and water. One is that he's running as an opposition leader and behaving like one in that sense, you know, the whole bus tour and getting out there and being as folksy as possible. There's a real kind of opposition leader feel about that. That's what we see opposition leaders do, you know, familiarity tours on buses and the like. And the other is that he's the Prime Minister and that he wants to advantage, as you say, sort of leverage the advantage of incumbency. And I think that's actually, neither of those two things can be, well, they can't be run together. They just don't go together.
Well, he's sort of not doing either very well, would be my observation. I mean, partly because he's doing both. The blokesy thing was rather confused by the whole bus plane thing and, you know, the whole fair dinkum thing, and then as Prime Minister he's looking like he's making panic decisions on policy, so he's not building up any gravitas and natural sort of sense of, oh yeah, he's the Prime Minister. Instead you've got women at the races saying, what's your name?
Yeah. You know, there's an interesting development too in the Saturday paper, Mark, at the weekend when they went back and had a look at why he left Tourism Australia all those years ago before he went into politics. And Fran Bailey, who was the Tourism Minister at the time, Coalition Tourism Minister, confirmed that she and the board were unanimous that they had to let him go.
Yeah, get rid of him, in fact, was the words that Fran Bailey used, speaking to Karen Middleton. And I thought it was a really excellent story that the Saturday paper's got on the front page there by Karen, looking at the circumstances of his departure from Tourism Australia, apparently a lack of documentation around how, you know, huge contracts totalling millions and millions of dollars were managed by Tourism Australia.
Marketing stuff too, a lot of it.
Yeah, and so this bloke that the government had decided had to be got rid of, subsequent and around which there is not a lot of documentation. There are missing documents from the public record, it appears, and he bobs up, sometime later as the Prime Minister.
He's done a few things in between.
There's a few things he's done.
One of the things he did in between, of course, he was Immigration Minister, and we got a bit of an insight this week into his personal thinking and how he approaches these issues when he was a guest of Lifeline and he was asked about refugees.
Politics is not for the faint-hearted, and you've got to be prepared to understand and own and carry the burden of decisions. And you'll find yourself on your knees, you'll find yourself in tears, you'll find yourself wrestling with this tough stuff.
You've been on your knees in tears?
Of course I have. Why wouldn't I be? These aren't easy issues, Mike. And you've got to be prepared to go through that and expose yourself to the consequences of difficult decisions. Now, if you can't do that, do another job.
It was fascinating.
On his knees, crying. Look, this is fine. People who pray, I used to pray, people pray for the kids, in detention, but the massive issue here is that he actually has power. That he actually can make decisions. So I think this revelation is kind of odd, given this is the guy who can make decisions, who can resettle people, who can work harder at making deals, who can work harder at getting kids off offshore detention. So I suppose the massive problem for Scott Morrison in saying that is that he has the power, unlike people in churches and mosques who may be praying for these people who don't have any power to have any influence.
And I think also just the fact that the government won't reset its political rhetoric on this at all. It's sort of trying to get the benefit of sort of fixing the problem for kids out of detention by the back door. But the idea that you could say, OK, 5 years on, we can start to reshift the goalposts here. It's a legacy issue. We can just fix this. but in the meantime, we'll just bash Labor up a bit over the New Zealand thing. I'm sorry, but there's just a bit too much cynicism in that for me to be moved by his tears and prayers.
And why won't it reset its rhetoric? I mean, it's one of the lessons from the US election that we've just seen is that Trump decided it wasn't enough to have a booming economy and to just talk about the economy. He had to play that xenophobic card, talking about the caravan and so forth. One suspects there is still a strong view within the coalition that this is one of their key points of difference with Labor, the argument that Labor is not as serious about securing our borders, that Labor would restart the boats, that Labor's soft on asylum seekers and so forth, and they are therefore just unwilling to give up that political advantage. It may be, in their estimation, one of the few things they have that they can.
Well, there was a media moment too in Australia. It wasn't anywhere near as dramatic, of course, but Scott Morrison was doing a doorstop in regional Queensland, and he took a question here from an ABC regional journalist, Amelia Terzon.
Loves Ken, but says he can't vote for him at the next election because of all the instability with the coalition. What do you have to say to Ken?
I think the ABC should stop coming up to press conferences and repeating the lines of the Labor Party every time I step up to the microphone.
Now, that was, even if he believes that, it was probably the wrong time to raise it, because Amelia had gone out the night before and had spent 2 hours doing extensive chats with locals, with people, and she actually referenced one of the locals when she asked that question, and then she was accused in that way. But is this contagious or something?
Well, perhaps it's contagious. It's the sort of thing that people say when they're under pressure. I'm thinking Neville Wran, are you from the ABC?
That's right.
Now, this guy isn't allegedly under all that much pressure. He's having a really good time. It's all really great, win-win. So to sort of snap so easily on such a silly issue is just... I think it isn't a good look.
She actually said in the question that she made it clear that she was expressing the views of a member of the public that she'd spoken to.
I actually was genuinely outraged by this. I just couldn't believe the way he spoke to her, and it was so insulting. I mean, she'd done actually genuine interviews. This was not some sort of fabrication, some Canberra bubble. It's all about the Canberra bubble, says the ultimate Canberra bubble leader, the leader of the bubble.
Bubble boy, as someone called him.
Yeah, it was very funny. But he's the leader of the bubble. But he says this is a Labor Party question, right? But how is it a Labor Party question when actually the former Prime Minister goes on Q&A this week and says this is the central question for the government?
All right, we have to move on, but our panel, Laura Tingle, Mark Kinney and Patricia Carvelis, will be back shortly with final observations, but it's time now for Mike Bowers and Talking Pictures.
Truth, crikey, ripper, fair dinkum, dead set, ridgy didge, fair shake of the sauce bottle. I'm yakking pictures this morning with Bonza Sheila, Maria Zivic, who's a scribbler for SBS, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you, Bowers. I don't think I've ever been called a Bonza Sheila in my entire life. But I do have the nickname Madge.
Yeah, you do have Madge.
Yeah. That's pretty Aussie.
How do you reckon it's working, Aussieing it up for ScoMo? Is it going down, do you reckon?
I think it works probably in some parts of the country. Probably worked on the Queensland tour this week.
I did love this Kadelka. The ScoMo Express has rolled through town and the person's got, I just missed him.
Never run for a bus or an Australian Prime Minister. There's always another one in 5 minutes.
That's so true, isn't it?
You do not need to wait long, that's for sure.
No. This was rather good. Where the bloody hell is he? Because apparently he's actually not on the bus.
He said he didn't have time to make all his events if he was purely on the ScoMo Express.
There's only so much ScoMo to go around.
There he is.
What I did love about this was all the memes that popped up with people rewriting stuff on the side of the bus.
It was literally like the best meme week in Ozpol for a very long time.
Here's a few of them, Maria.
I like this one. I'm only here because Matthias couldn't count to 43. Best ouches are meme ouches.
Yeah. ScoMo Queen of the Desert.
That's awesome.
He looked good in silver, I think. But this was a particular favourite of mine. It's all Labor's fault as it hurtles off the cliffs.
Crushing into the sea.
Yeah. Jack the Insider seems to be saying he wants this immortalised. If they're looking for a reason why the Prime Minister was tumbled out of the top job, it's because you don't eat pies with a knife and fork.
I must admit, I have used a knife and fork before to eat a pie.
Right.
But I figure my last name's Zivic, so it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah?
No one's going to argue.
I'm allowed to do that sometimes.
Yeah, especially if you've got a knife in your hand, Zivic.
He does look very manly here, doesn't he?
He does.
Getting into that pie.
Beefies.
Beefies hat on.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much more Australian than that.
Rare image from inside the ScoMo bus in the cap locker, and we've borrowed some of the caps here.
We have our own cap locker, and these are on loan from ScoMo.
Yeah.
Very lucky to have these.
Very lucky.
All sorts of numbers. The pink John Deere is very nice.
Yeah. Maria, Mark Latham certainly loves a party. He's been a member of 3 of them so far.
He has. He'd be a party animal, I think.
Lovely Kathy Wilcox at last. The reanimation is thud. He's got the Lathamstein coming to life here. It's alive!
Oh, the political resurgence
Yeah.
of Mr. Latham.
Yep.
Just what we need in these political times, isn't it?
Yes. Maria, this week Australia had the race that stops the nation, and the USA had a race that stopped the world, as we were all tuned in to see whether it was a blue wave or a blue grave for the Democrats.
Absolutely. And look, I think this cartoon depicts it all very well.
Yep. What blue wave?
The only thing he's missing there is just a KFC bucket on his tummy.
Yeah.
And I think that would have made it all complete.
Mark Knight's got a new sort of blue wave here.
I think that would go quite nicely with his sort of very orange, Oompa Loompa type complexion.
Yeah. This is my favourite for this week. Did you?
I can't keep a straight face.
Chris Pine, he tweeted this picture. A great afternoon for a ride. I won't be troubling the punters on Tuesday, however. Now, look, Maria, I'm just hoping the horse's name is Fixer.
I think this needs to be a video meme, though. We actually need Christopher
movement.
Pine saying that a great afternoon for a ride. For a ride.
Chris is definitely a stayer.
He is a stayer.
Maria's been great yakking with you, and I'll let you tell Baz he's dreaming.
Bonza Baz, it's the vibe.
Well done.